All right, guys, welcome to episode 8, not 7, of Chasing Mastery here with Chad Kennedy. Just had to redo that because I completely spaced what episode I was on to start out. So thanks for coming on today, Chad. How's your day going today, Chad?
Pretty good. Can't complain other than cold weather here in almost March, right? So.
Yeah, we just got hit with our second winter. For anyone who's not from the Spokane area, we almost always get a first winter, a full spring, and then second winter hits. And that's where we're at right now, is a nice little second winter.
It's a great kick for seasonal depression for everybody.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you get a little bit of sunlight, a little bit of vitamin D, your spirit gets lifted, and then you get kicked in the face.
Exactly. So that's where we're at today.
Yes, sir. All right, so I'm just going to hop right into, I pull a lot of these questions from Tools of Titans, which is a Tim Ferriss book. He does a lot of podcast interviews just like this one. So the very first question is, what book or books have you gifted most?
Well, for real estate agents, in previous role in the business, I'd say the number one book I've gifted the most is probably The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. Great tactics for anybody from individual agent to a team and kind of realizing the structure from start to finish of what it takes to make it in this industry. Great tools around lead generation, systems, and leverage in that book. So that'd be the number one book.
Nice.
Lately, I haven't been gifting it because I only have one copy, but I've been recommending Exactly What to Say.
Do you know who it's by chance?
Oh, man. You know I do, but I'm drawing a blank now that I brought it up.
No worries. So it's Know What to Buy?
Exactly What to Say.
Exactly What to Say. I'm going to have to look that up. That sounds like a good one.
I got a phone. It's awesome book. So what I like about it is, like, when you're coming up with objections or whatnot, trying to figure out how to overcome objections or where it's at, it dives in, it gives you like multiple strategies right there. And it was written by, which I should know, Phil M. Jones.
Phil M. Jones.
Yeah.
Awesome. And are there any other books that have greatly impacted your life or helped you do a mindset shift going from military to stepping into a realtor, real estate agent career?
Yeah, I mean, there was a gap there of sales. So a lot of stuff, I read like the 1 Minute Manager series before for when I worked in corporate world in sales. That was good. Grant Cardone stuff for a bit when he first started writing books like 10X Rule and stuff like that, which I still think are valuable. But yeah, mainly Gary Keller's got, like I said, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Shift is another one right now in the market, as the market adjusts, how to survive this time that we're in right now in the business and then thrive coming out of it. So
Nice.
That was a good one that's really impacted me.
Did you ever read Millionaire Real Estate Investor? It's one of
I
another
have
of the
that
series.
one. I have that one. Yep. I've cracked it, never really dove into it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, not familiar with everything in that one yet. And then Unbreakable Mind was a good one, and by Mark Devine, former Navy SEAL, just kind of on mindset and being strong and powering through, and the fact that we can do a lot more than we give ourselves credit for.
Nice. And what was that book called?
That one's Unbeatable Mind.
Unbeatable Mind.
Yeah, by Mark Devine, or Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Yeah, that's a good one,
love David Goggins. His whole perspective on just going through it, knowing it's going to suck and doing it anyway, and then looking back and wishing that it had sucked more so you could come out stronger on the other side. Like, it's like Bruce Lee's quote where he's like, I don't ask for an easy life. I ask for the strength to endure a hard one, kind of thing, which
Absolutely.
I think is great.
Yeah, it's just it's a different mindset that we crave comfort, right? Like we get into routines and we crave comfort as a civilization, and it makes us weak and not live up to our potential. So yeah, that's a good one. And honestly, I like Audible. I prefer to read. I internalize stuff more when I read, but David Goggins, he reads his own books on Audible, and something in his voice, like when he's reading about his childhood or where it's at, and it like really hits when it's his voice, because he's speaking directly to you instead of some other author or somebody else narrating it.
Can't Hurt Me was amazing too, because he's talking with like his ghostwriter, essentially. Like his ghostwriter's reading part of it, but then they treat it like a podcast too.
Yep.
So it's like, as he's reading it, David Goggins will stop him and be like, well, that happened, but we couldn't actually fit this in the book, but all this other stuff happened beforehand, and that's how it led up to this. And even talking about whoever those brothers were, one of them was the lone survivor, and talking
Oh
about
yeah,
how he
Marcus
was,
Luttrell.
yeah,
Yep.
Marcus Luttrell and all that. Like a lot of that didn't make it into the book, but it's in the audio book, which is really cool.
Yep.
Super awesome. What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months or recent memory?
Oh man. Purchase of $100 or less. Man,
Or even around $100.
I'm trying to think. I'm pretty cheap. Like I honestly don't buy a lot of stuff for myself. Um, like I don't even have our Amazon password. Cassie orders everything. I just like I'll go on Amazon and like send her the share thing. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I need this. Um, honestly, for convenience, like it's a membership, but like the Dollar Shave Club, like just
Mm.
sending me razors and like I don't have to think about it. Like I get razors, body wash, shampoo, like everything. Like
Yeah.
it's just
It's
on
on
auto
automation.
cycle. Yeah,
That
and
is
it's
nice.
like less than $100. It's just like I never have to worry about that. I'm like, oh man, I'm running low on shampoo.
And it
I
shows
don't
up.
have to go to the store. Yeah, it's just there. So
That's awesome.
yeah, probably Dollar Shave Club.
I'm gonna have to look into that because I've heard a lot of great things about Dollar Shave Club.
Yeah, they just sent out new razors too. I think they're trying. People were like out of massive stock, so like I slowed my order down. So then they changed the blade or the
Mm.
handle. So now you have to do new blades. It's
Gotcha.
marketing, right? Like,
Yep. Honestly,
gotta do
gotta
what you
keep
gotta
the
do.
money coming in
Yep.
one way or another. Dollar Shave Club sponsor us.
Yep. Dollar Shave Club. Let's go.
How has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success?
Man, I fail all the time in this business. You know, I come up with ideas and internalize stuff, and then go through the motions, try to put it into work, systems, processes, and see where it works. Like trial and error works, but like failing in anything, I tend to take it as a path forward. Like, okay, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? And then really like dig deep and internalize what happened with it to be able to push forward to either maybe it's a great idea, but my execution was off.
Mhm.
Maybe it's a great idea and my heart just wasn't into it at that time because I had other things going on and I couldn't commit to it fully. So I think just reevaluating failures is key and not looking at like crushing defeats. Like I've lost some money in the past. You know, I did ISAs for a while and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
this is gonna be great. Like I can have an inside sales
Yeah.
agent in Mexico and I can have one in the Philippines and like they call these people and I'm gonna get so many listing appointments from it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh wait, I have to spend the time like these companies say they train them, but they really don't. So then it's
like
like
they train them in English.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We got them. Yeah. They speak somewhat fluid English now. So that was kind of a failure that cost me some money a few years back. Like
Mhm.
I was banking on that and then it just realized, and it would work. I know a lot of agents that are successful with those processes and
Yeah.
ISAs and leveraging, you know, people from outside the area. But for me, my heart wasn't in it to be on a Zoom call with them, coaching them daily. Like
Yeah.
that just, it never made it into my calendar. And it didn't work. So I lost some money in that. So that was,
Yeah, I feel like ISAs are very much a long game. It's like if they're in house, you got to bring them in, you got to train them, you have to hope that they actually do what they're supposed to, make the calls, start setting appointments, and then from there you have to continually coach them. So it's like you're training or you're trading your prospecting time for now coaching your ISA time.
correct. And if you can link it up with multiple ISAs, like if you had a team, right? Like,
Mhm.
so if you had 5 people and you spent your 2 hours that you should be prospecting a day into coaching those 5 people, ultimately you're going to get a lot more prospecting done for your business.
Yeah.
But it's just the time and the attention to it. And then in person is great. You know, if it's somebody on a team and it's local, the problem is that's a job that most people don't want.
Yeah.
One, the wage that is justifiable for that position
Mhm.
to land appointments and make the cold calls and do all this stuff. And if they're good at it, like the ones that are good, they're doing the most miserable part of most real estate agents' job, right? Like
Yep.
they're doing the cold calls, they're setting. Then why wouldn't they just pursue a career in real estate,
Yeah,
get their
just get their
license?
agent
They could just do it
license and-
themselves and make 10 times as much money.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's a good entry level into real estate, a way to get into real estate, get an understanding for the business, and then launch onto a position with a team potentially.
Yeah, but
Right.
it's hard for a team owner to be like, "Oh yeah, we want to keep you in this ISA position as long as possible. We don't want you to
No.
grow and expand." It's kind of tough because it's like, well, I'm making all these appointments and you're taking most of my money. I'm only getting a few $100 in bonuses. 'Cause
Exactly. Yeah.
I was
Hourly
an
wage and
ISA
bonuses.
for a time too, where it was like, oh yeah, I get bonused. And it was nice when I was first getting started because it was like, oh yeah, I might go 6 months without a paycheck, or I can get a paycheck every 2 weeks and just get bonused when stuff closes.
Yeah.
And I got to learn the business and I got to fail on someone else's dollar rather than fail on my own dollar. I didn't have to go get my own leads, call them, and then mess up the conversations. I could just mess them up and be like, oh, well, that didn't go so well.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have a favorite failure?
Man, I don't. Yeah, I guess I do. So before I switched to our brokerage, which is Synergy Properties, if anybody's wondering, before I was at a big national brokerage, and I decided that in order to inflict change in the market center that we were at, that I would take a leadership position. And so I took a job as an assistant team leader, and then the team leader washed out. So the CEO, so I was effectively the vice president of that office with 350 plus agents in charge
Oh,
of
wow.
training, coaching, calendar, one-on-one business consulting, stuff like that, to get people going. And what I realized was I failed in that aspect because I looked at it as a way leverage that to grow my team. Like, oh, I can get a salary and bonuses from this, and I can still grow my team. I don't have to do as much business. I can pass business off to team members. It'll be
Yeah.
great. But what I realized was pulling myself away from my business. I took the eye off of business growth in my business, and I really just like wanting to inflict change and having the power to do that. Because if I change my mind in my business, I can do anything I want that's legal.
Yeah.
Like within the state, I can do whatever I want legally as long as it doesn't violate fair housing or whatever, right? When you work for a big corporation and you have a boss, it really came down like I failed because I realized I was unemployable at this point in my life.
Mhm.
Like I can't work for somebody else ever again.
Yeah.
Like it's just frustrating.
You get to that point where you grow your business big enough and you're like, man, why would I ever trade my time for money again?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was a great touch up, a couple that was COVID timeframe. So yeah, 2020. So it's been a few years ago, and I did that for 6 months, and I had to resign. I was like, guys, I can't do this. Like, it's not
Yeah.
me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I can grow my own team, but I can't
not
do this.
It's not you, but like I can't do this.
Yeah.
So
That's fair. That's fair. If you had a giant billboard, metaphorically speaking,
Yep.
that can get a message out to millions or billions of people, what would it say and why? It could be, a favorite quote or something like that.
I think simply believe. Like just one word, believe.
Or believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself, your friends, like believe in other people. Like I honestly believe most people are good and have good intentions. Like there are bad people out there, right? But and believing in yourself most of all. Like that was one thing transitioning from, multiple six-figure sales jobs over the years and having that conversation with my wife like, hey, I'm not happy in this environment anymore. She's like, okay, great. We have kids at home. What are you going to do to make money, right? Like we have this life that we're accustomed to at this point. So, and real estate was part of that. Like I left a career as a sales manager in a large dealership, and just I set aside money, and I said, okay, like our bills are covered for 6 months. Like if we run out of savings in 6 months, like I'll go get a job again. And I haven't had to work another job since.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been good.
I like it. Let's do one more question from this, then we'll switch gears onto the real estate side of stuff. And then after that, we can go back and finish up the last 5 or so questions.
Yeah.
What is one of the most worthwhile investments that you've ever made? Could be time, money, or energy.
I think real estate, buying real estate is the best investment I've ever made. And when you look at, as a buyer that bought pre-COVID, multiple times, it's the amount of equity I've gained in my house I couldn't have made in the stock market. I guess if I would have got in early on, Bitcoin, I could have, right?
Yeah, everyone has that like, oh yeah, I heard about Bitcoin. It was $100. I should have bought some.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, cryptocurrency. And doing that, but honestly, real estate investments have made us the most money personally, and it's just a matter of, how do we acquire more at this point? And they're safe. Most of the time, they go up in value. like it is what it is. So
Yeah.
our first one was a little rough. We lost money in our first deal, just time frame wise and what the market did, and didn't recoup everything that we put into the house. But with this current house, yeah, we're in good shape and looking for other investment opportunities now. So
Nice.
real estate's probably the best investment I ever made.
Can you walk me through that first deal you did, and if you could go back, what you would do differently to maybe not break even or actually make some
Sure.
money?
Yeah. I mean, that first deal, it was a personal home. Honestly, it was market timing. So we bought our first house in 2010. Shortly after we bought our 2 bedroom, 1 bedroom house, my daughter was getting ready to start kindergarten at that time. So we wanted to be in the Meade School District and get everything going there. And then shortly after owning that house, Cassie became pregnant with our son, Wyatt. And I was like, wow, okay, now I have to finish the basement. So
Mhm.
egress window, did all the work myself, and it turned out great doing that. But it was time. Career wise, I took a job that promoted me out of state. So we moved from
Gotcha.
Spokane to Boise. um, our agent in the beginning he wasn't great. He didn't understand the VA loan or the VA loan process, which is obviously what led me to do this. So we paid more for a house than we should have in 2010. Terrible negotiating on his behalf, stuff that we did in that transaction. Like I roofed the south side of the house myself
Mhm.
to get it to pass the appraisal. I've never roofed a house before in my life, Casey. So like that house had a roof. Had paid to have a new roof put on it before we sold it. But so did that. We had to paint the back of the garage or appraisal items, do all this stuff ourselves, just to move in. And it seemed like it was more about getting him a deal than it was like, hey, this is the right house for us.
Yeah.
And we had a tight budget. I get it. But that was tough. So then time on market, we moved away and it was like, hey, we don't want to be landlords. Let's sell it. Called him when we lived in Boise. We're settled in Boise in a townhouse down there. Everything was good. Said, hey, I want you to list my house. And this is 2012. So I've been in it, for a couple of years.
Mhm.
We're okay wise, as far as payment wise, first time home buyer house. And then like 6 days into, I called them for like a follow up. Like I'm in sales, like you follow up with people, right? Your
Yeah.
clients. So I called them to follow up and see like, hey, what's the status? Like, what's going on? Where is it at? I saw it was online and they had 3 photos that he took with his phone. So I called my mom, who still lived up in this area, and she drove past that house from her office to home every day. And I said, hey, do me a favor, go drive by my house and send me a picture. I did no other explanation, just send me a picture. She's like, okay. So she went by and sent me a picture. Like we'd been on the market at that point for like 2 weeks. By the time she went to do that, I didn't even have a real estate sign in the yard, like the most basic marketing thing. So it was just like,
Yeah.
hey, you can do this better, get things going. And then we moved. We lived out of state for a few years, transitioned back. We turned it into a rental. We didn't sell it. Turned it into a rental. Moved back into it. But by the time we went through and fixed it up and where everything was at in the market, we were built above where the neighborhood value was at. It was as the market was starting to take off, and
Yeah.
we just put $46,000 in a year into this house that we were
Jeez.
never going to get back. So with
Yeah.
new siding and windows, a roof, furnace, hot water heater, like all the stuff it needed. Like
Yeah.
so the new owners are happy with it. Like they're great, and we walked away, and I probably lost 15 to 20 grand in that deal over the course of owning it.
Yeah.
But that launched us into our new house, which now we've got tons of equity in and get things going. So it made
Nice.
sense, and the space we needed. So
Yeah.
ultimately, it was a trade off. Like we could keep it as a rental and buy this other house. We're tired of rentals at this point, or at that point in our lives. We're like, hey, let's just dump it and sell it. So
Nice. You ever thinking about picking up more rentals down the line, hiring a property manager, or do you kind of want to avoid rentals, do something different for
no,
investments?
we're doing rentals. We're gonna end up moving here in a couple of years. We have a plan to move in a couple of years, and we're gonna end up renting our house out more than likely. Just we have a low interest rate and tons of equity in it, so why sell it?
Yeah.
At that
Honestly.
point, and we don't need it to buy something new when we move. So that works. But really, multifamily is what I'm interested in. I don't want single doors all over. If I can get a couple of duplexes going, would be key for us. Is kind of where we're at, and the issue prices shot up on multifamily like crazy, right? Like duplexes are like 500,000, and then you're like, hey, how does the capitalization rate work? Like, are we going to
Yeah.
make money on it with where they're at when during COVID and the last couple of years? With the market shift, I've actually seen some pretty affordable ones. Like there was one that popped up last week that an agent in our office has listed in the same school district that my kids are in now at 525, and it was like a 3 bedroom 1.5 bath on one side, 3-bedroom, 2 bath on the other.
I think I saw that one
Yeah,
actually.
up on Colton.
Mhm.
Yep. So yeah, and like honestly, for where that's at, I didn't run numbers on it, but because I'm not looking to buy right now.
Yeah,
But
I was looking at it because I was like, I want to buy that place.
yeah, no, the
Yeah.
capitalization rate, the school district alone, right? Like people want to be
Mhm.
in that school district for whatever. It's a great school district, but
Yeah.
like people want it. We have a lot of great school districts in our area, so but yeah, people want to be up north and want that. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good deal at
Yep.
525 for that particular one.
Not too shabby.
But I'm more focused in like Airway Heights, Washington, and
Yeah.
out near the base.
Because you do a lot of military.
It's 80% of our business every year is
Mhm.
helping active duty members, National Guard, Reserve, or veterans purchase and sell real estate. So, but a lot of those people, like when I was in the Marine Corps, like I wasn't allowed to live off base. Like I had a room in the barracks. That was and a roommate in the barracks. I didn't pay anything. I could go to the chow hall and eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I didn't have to buy food.
Mhm.
Of course, I did because I was like 18 to 22 years old. So I
Yeah.
could go to Taco Bell or wherever I want, rather than go eat the free food. But doing that, the Air Force Base here, Fairchild Air Force Base, like they don't have enough dorms. They call them dorms. They don't have enough dorms for the members on base, so they send them out into the world. Like, here you are, 18-year-old airmen.
Good
like,
luck.
go get a rental, right?
Yeah.
Like, figure it out where, and they get paid BAH. They get extra pay for that. So if you get a couple of 3-bedroom duplexes, and you get 2 or 3 airmen in there renting them out per side, like it makes sense for them where they're actually making a little bit of extra money on their BAH, rent's affordable, and if we can help provide affordable housing out near the base is something that's important to me. So
Nice.
yeah.
Very cool. We only got a few minutes till we're going to take a break, but do you want to walk me through, before we take our break, why you started Freedom Real Estate? You kind of touched on it a little bit with your other realtor that you had where you're just not happy with it, but walk me through that process on you being like, you know what, I'm just going to do this myself. I don't want to rely on someone else because I feel like I can just do it better.
For sure. Yeah, I was always interested in real estate. As a first-time home buyer, got into it, and I was like, okay, like this is the way that process works. And I don't love showing houses. I'm not like, oh, look how pretty this kitchen is. Like I could care less if I saw another kitchen, right? Like, so I get more into the numbers and analytics of real estate, and the earning potential. So before real estate, I was a sales manager for a large furniture company that moved me around the country. In order to come back to Spokane, we moved away in 2012. We lived in Boise, we lived in Salt Lake City, and then they moved us to Bismarck, North Dakota, which my family loved Salt Lake City. It was great. Weather was nice, world-class skiing. Like on my days off, it was nice.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Kids were young, pool at the apartment complex, like lived in a brand new apartment nobody ever lived in. It was great. And then they're like, hey, one more store and we're going to try to get you back to the Northwest. I was like, cool, where's it at? And they're like, you're going to Bismarck, North Dakota.
Like, oh boy.
And I was like, okay, like never been there. I flew into Bismarck and it was just not Utah or even Spokane. It was brutal. And it was like at the end of the oil boom peak. So like housing was super expensive there. Like back in 2013, I think we were paying like $2,200 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhouse.
That's crazy.
In Bismarck. Like there's nothing there. Like my furniture store was there. And it was at that time, my dad was battling cancer, his fight with colon cancer. And he ultimately passed away in December of 2014. So we came back for funeral services and whatnot. And kids got to be around family for Christmas. And I kind of caved. Like we took Kayla to see Santa, who's 17 years old now. Santa was like, well, what do you want for Christmas? She's like, I just want nothing. I get to be around my family. Like, that's what I want. And like, that broke me. I was like, all right, like we moved for career advancement, like family suffering because of this. So Cassie and I talked and I was like, hey, I'm quitting. She's like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, well, we'll move back to Spokane. Like I can get a sales job anywhere. She's like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. Like I bought a couple of motorcycles at Harley Davidson before. Like I could sell motorcycles. That seems like a fun job. So worked at the Harley dealership here in town, became a sales manager there, helped grow that dealership to number 3 in the country. And I was like, I'm tired of building businesses for other people.
Yeah.
Or working towards somebody else's dream. Right. So that's where real estate came in with the savings. And it was like, hey, this is what I want to do. I can work for myself. I can be my own boss, and really committed to building something for our family. And then I took a class beginning of my career, and they talk about like your big why, like, why do you do this? Where's it at? And like, who's your ideal customer? right? Like that's not something a lot of people think about. Like who's your ideal customer? And my ideal customer, what I decided, like the people I truly want, I'm glad to help anybody buy or sell invest in real estate in Spokane, but it really came down to like helping those veterans. So they didn't have the experience that we had,
Yeah.
especially because a lot of them transition, right? Like they get orders to another duty station. They have to sell their house up. They're not here. I want them to know, like, we're going to get the job done, even if you're in California or Florida or wherever you end up. Like, you're not here. It doesn't matter. We're still going to get the job done for you.
Mhm.
So that's why we started Freedom Real Estate Group. I started that back in 2017, and it's been great. Like it's grown every year. It's been 80% of the business has been helping those members that we want to help, and I'm really proud of that. And that's been our focus ever since, is just
Nice.
veterans helping veterans.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Got to help your own.
Exactly.
What do you think was 1 to 3 of the best skills you took from being in the military, bringing it into the real estate world?
Oh, yeah. I think being organized is huge, right? Like anybody can get in this industry. Like you could have been working in a warehouse 2 weeks ago and passed a real estate exam, which has a very low bar to entry, in my opinion, to get into this
Yeah.
industry. Like 90 hours. Like I think you have to have something like 180 hours or maybe even 200 hours just to cut hair in the state of Washington. And
Oh, yeah.
and
Dang.
90 hour, like hair grows back in a week or two, man. Like a bad haircut, I can wear a hat.
Yeah.
Right? Like a bad real estate investment could cost somebody potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely tens of
So, yeah,
thousands.
tens
Very,
of
very,
thousands.
very easily.
Easy, right? So
Like you forgot to check a box and
exactly.
that's $5
Yeah.
grand.
I it's embarrassing to think of now, but like, yeah, my first real estate transaction was like this manufactured home on lease land, first
Mhm.
offer I wrote when I got in the business. And I included the inspection addendum, and I was at a brokerage that didn't offer a lot of training. Like our training was here, watch these videos from at David Knox Real Estate Training from 1980. And he's like,
Dang.
wear a tie every day, go door knocks, wear
Yeah.
a tie, blah, blah, blah. Like nothing about writing contracts, right? And nothing pre-licensing tells you how to write contracts. So luckily the listing agent was really gracious with us. Because we were trying to terminate based on our inspection. Like we did a home inspection, we did all that stuff. Well, I
Yeah.
included an inspection addendum, Form 35, but I didn't actually check the inspection box that used to be at the top of the old one,
Yeah.
right? So we weren't entitled to a home inspection.
Dang.
And like that was a huge cost and like poor training on my behalf and not what I want to do in the industry. So being organized
Yeah.
is key. Like, right. Like in the Marine Corps, it was, get up at 5:30 every morning, make your bed, brush your teeth, put on PT gear, your information, eat something real quick, information at 7:00 to go run or PT or do whatever you're going to do. And then back, shower, change into your uniform and get on with your day. Like really structured. This is what you're doing. Anything before, while we're in Iraq, even, hey, we're going out on this patrol today. We're taking these vehicles. These are who are in these vehicles. This is their information. This is their rifle serial number. When we get from point A to point B, this vehicle is going to be here. And everything was practiced and we'd rehearse it all before we ever went out to do it. So like everybody knew exactly what was going on. And in the midst of chaos, like people knew, hey, this is my area. This is where I need to be because somebody else's team's over here and there's another team over here, right? So being organized has been the biggest thing. I see people that are just train wrecks in real estate all the time and come talk to me. And being able to step back and kind of overanalyze it, I think helps. It's a hindrance to me sometimes because it takes me away from action because I'll overanalyze things to an extent. But being able to be like, hey, does this make sense for my clients? Is this in the best interest of my clients and why? Does this make it a win-win for the buyer and my seller or whatever the case may be, right? So critical thinking that I learned through the discipline of being structured is probably the biggest thing from the military that helps me in real estate.
Nice. So you got started in real estate. What brokerage were you at initially when you were helping build there?
So, this is my third brokerage now. Been doing this 7 years. So I started at Century 21 because as a new agent, like I didn't know anybody in real estate besides my agent that we had experience with, right? And I wasn't going to call him for advice.
Yeah.
So Cassie knew somebody whose husband had just gotten into real estate, and like I talked to him, and then I passed the exam, and I was like, cool. I need to go interview brokerages. So I went to like the brokerages that everybody knows, right? Like I went like, oh, Century 21, like those guys have been around forever. I used to see their
Mhm.
ads on when used to have the TV guide channel,
Oh,
and like
yeah.
the real estate ads would pop up on there. Like I remember seeing that as a kid, like
Mhm.
waiting for shows to pop, trying to figure out what to watch on TV. Or Windermere Real Estate, a regional company here locally that is large and very well known. So I went and interviewed with them, and I was like, all real estate brokers are the same. Like it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Like it doesn't. So I was at Century 21 for 6 months before I was recruited to Keller Williams, and then moved my license over to Keller Williams at that point. I was invited to a mastermind with a bunch of their top agents,
Mhm.
and I sat in on this 2-hour mastermind, and I understood maybe 25% because I'd been in the business like 5 months at that time.
Yeah.
I understood like maybe 25% of what they were talking about. But what I realized was people were having conversations around real estate be in that office that they weren't having in my office or at my brokerage, right? And the fact that I didn't understand everything that they were talking about made me feel like I needed to be in conversation and be in rooms with those people.
Yeah.
So um, I was there for, I don't know, 5.5 years. So,
KW?
yep. Yeah. I was there for 5.5 years.
Nice.
So, yeah. And
And
then,
that's the one where you were helping build
yep,
the
as the
sales
assistant
team
team
and
leader. Yep. I
nice.
was the assistant team leader in beginning part of 2020 for a bit before I resigned. So yeah,
Nice.
and started the team there. And that was one thing because like I thought everybody was the same, right? Different brokerages have different models. A lot of brokerages you're not allowed to have your own branding. Like you can have your name with their logo on your sign and your phone number,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the brokerage model. That's the way it's set up. Or you have to have the big balloon if it's that brokerage, right?
Mhm.
Or whatever it is. Where Keller Williams was open to like, hey, you're a KW agent, but you can brand yourself, which was really appealing to me because if I'm taking a listing in a neighborhood, I don't care if another KW agent gets that listing or another Synergy agent for that matter. Like, do I get another listing in that neighborhood
Mhm.
because my signed? So being able to personally brand it was when I launched Freedom Real Estate Group in 2017. And it's kind of evolved from there. So I was an individual agent in 2017. In the 6 months I was at Keller Williams, I sold more homes in that second 6 months of my first year than anybody else did in their Northwest region. So I
Nice.
was the 2018 Rookie of the Year for Washington, Idaho, Oregon, and Alaska.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing until I was in New Orleans and they called me up. I walked into an awards banquet like late and they were calling my name to go up and get an award. I was like, oh, what's this?
Like, what?
Really? Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
So got that and then grew from there early or mid 2019. I brought on an agent. He was a military guy, former Marine, and then transitioned into the Air Force, retired from the Air Force, was just looking for something to do. His name was Mark. Amazing guy. Worked with Mark for a few years. And then when his wife retired from the Air Force, they decided to relocate to North Carolina. So
Gotcha.
to be closer to family. So Mark
So they
left.
moved.
Yeah, Mark left, which was great. Mark was awesome. Help out with some buyers, get some stuff going, do open houses, things like that. So I could focus more on getting listings. And then 2020, I guess 2021. Yeah, 2021. I brought in an agent named Travis Clemens, who happens to be Cassie's younger brother. And he worked with us for about a year. And I kind of knew it wasn't going to be the best fit from the beginning from his experience. He works for a big credit union here locally and did financial management for them, but didn't love the hours once he became a financial manager. And I was like, well, real estate's a lot of hours too.
Yeah.
Like it's not a 9 to 5 type thing, right? And then so he worked with us for a while, and then Cassie came on. So Cassie was been in the Air National Guard for 19 years at this point now. And she was recruiting for them full time, making cold calls, doing stuff. And I tried to talk her into real estate because I'm like, look, I'm busy. Like I'm running nonstop. So I tried for years to get her to join me. And she wouldn't do it. So finally I just quit asking her.
Yeah.
And she came to me and she was like, hey, will you sign me up for the real estate class? I was like, oh, hell yeah. The time
Let's
has
do
come.
it.
The time has come.
Finally.
Yes. About time you show up. So, yeah, so Cassie got her license about the same time Travis did, came on board, and we rolled with us, the three of us, which was great. And then when we decided to transition to Synergy, Travis decided to transition back to a 9 to 5. So it's just been Cassie and I for the last almost year now,
Nice.
which is good. But we're ramping up now and looking to grow beyond ourselves. And, I had this, it always, bringing on new agents is tricky, as growing a team is in many aspects. Like, one, you're dealing with personalities and doing this and trying to keep them motivated and keep yourself motivated on the task that you need to do. But what I found was, and I was kind of over it for a bit, because I was like, I increased my ad spend and I increased all these business expenses to accommodate for team members coming on. And then if they're not calling the leads or they're not converting or doing what they need to do, I'm spending more money to do that. And I'm doing less business, because instead of me doing prospecting and calling leads, I'm spending time coaching and helping them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this swing, right? Like you can make all this money by yourself, but you have no time. Like, I don't have the time I want with my family. I don't have the freedom that I want to have in real estate. And then you swing back to that, where now I'm spending all this time, and all this money, like my expenses are going up, but I'm making less money than I made when I worked by myself.
Yeah.
When I was working, 7 days a week, just hustling. So it's a trade-off. And at 40 years old now, I just decided, like, hey, it's not about them working for me. It's more about me working for them. And I really just want to help other people. So if that's how I can help so many veterans through real estate. I know my personal capacity is like 37 to 40 transactions a year. Like, I'm never going to do more than that. I never want to do more than that personally.
I feel like you'll start to go crazy if you
Yeah,
more than 40,
I'm a
50.
jerk. Like, I am a jerk at 40 transactions a year. Like, I am not friendly to my kids. Like, hey, Dad, how are you? Like, stop, I'm writing an offer. Like,
Don't talk to me for at least 2 hours.
I gotta get this offer written, right? Like, give me 20 minutes, bud. Like, and that's not the relationship I want to have with my kids, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, if I can scale back and I can do, 30 listings a year, leverage my time better, be there for my kids and do that, and help other agents grow their business and into this industry, then why not? Like, it's about them. It's not about me. And I make a little bit of money on it on the back end. So be it.
Yep, especially once they're trained up. It's like that initial labor of love, trying to get the team going, get everybody where they're supposed to be, get the systems in place. And once that's all set, then it's just like, all right, well, I need to review your contracts. What kind of struggles are you going through? More of like a weekly touch base rather than every single day. Like, what are you doing today? Did you make your calls? How did that showing go? Oh, you're writing an offer. Let me help you.
Yep, exactly. And, the first part, it's having them really shadow you. Like, hey, look, this is how we conduct a buyer consultation. You're going to practice this, you're going to memorize this, and then you're going to be able to go through it. Now you're going to go watch me do it. Right. So now they're watching me do it, and they're sitting there, and then they'll go on showings like, oh, this is how we show properties. Like, we're pointing out defects that we see that come up during home inspections to clients while they're looking at the house before we write an offer. We're not trying to glamour it. Like, when they're like, oh my God, look at this beautiful kitchen. I'm like, hey, that skylight's leaking. Do you see the drip, the water?
Yeah, you guys see the water damage?
Yeah.
Right
like,
there?
okay.
That's not good.
Just so you know, like, that's there, right? It's not the HGTV real estate, which I think a lot of people try to glamorize what we do.
Or the agents that are in it for a paycheck kind of thing, rather than to help people, are like, oh yeah, don't worry about that. It's like, that's a $50,000 repair. You better worry about that.
Yeah, like,
that could be huge.
First-time home buyer using a first-time home buyer grant program, and there's foundation issues and it needs a new roof. And they're like, yeah,
it's perfect house
beautiful.
for you.
It's your first house, guys. You're not going to get a gem on the first time. Like, come on. Like, no, do they have $16,000 to put a new roof on a house? No.
Yeah. Can you negotiate down price with the seller? Will the seller help cover some of that? Like,
yeah, there's a lot. So I found a long time ago, if you just take care of people, your people will take care of you. And that's happened in our business with referrals and where things are at. It's just past clients we've taken care of have taken care of us. So that's what we stick with.
I like it. When you do finally make the move down to Arizona and starting to get all that going, are you going to try and keep a team up here and just have someone else manage it and then kind of snowbird back and forth? Or do you want to be full-time down there and have someone a little more just kind of like hands off up here to take care of everything?
So that's in the works for writing right now. Right now, it looks like me coming up probably a week, a month for the foreseeable future,
Mhm.
which it's a 2-year plan, so that could evolve beyond that. But need to be here to provide structure for the team and leadership and make sure everything's there. I will have somebody else managing it the day to day, and be available while we try to grow something in Arizona.
Nice.
So, well, not try. Why we are growing something in Arizona.
Very
So,
cool. How
yeah.
did you come up with the name or decide on the name Freedom Real Estate?
Really, it was I was sitting there and I was like writing out a bunch of names, and I'm like, what is gonna catch the eye of my ideal client, right? Going back to that conversation, like, who is your ideal client? And it was like, these people have signed a contract with the United States government, right? Department of Defense, um, putting their life on the line potentially, like worst case scenario,
Mhm.
for this country, right? Like, they're patriotic. Like, why do they do that? Well, they do that for freedom, right?
Mhm.
Like, they do it for their personal freedom. They do it for the freedom of their friends and family. The person next to them, that's the big thing in the Marine Corps. Like, it's not about mom and dad back home or whatever. Like, you do it for the guy next to you that's
Mhm.
been through hell with you, right? So, um, that is really what stuck out. And I was like, hey, like, start looking at Washington businesses and business licenses, and like, nobody has this. It was like, okay, so the logo was tricky. So
Mhm.
like our logo is a soldier saluting with a flag background in a house, right?
Yeah, I'll throw it up on screen.
Yeah. So the logo I put out to Facebook, and I had designated brokers from other brokerages commenting like, oh, if you go, I threw up like 5 logo ideas that I had my designer make.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, if you go with that one, like, you're just pigeonholing yourself into that and blah, blah, blah. But that's
Mhm.
fine. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, you're
So
trying
like,
to niche down.
that solidified it for me more than any. And I had other agents commenting and people that I respect their opinion. They're like, but then like other people won't think that you can help them. And like, well, that's fine. I don't have to.
Mhm.
Like, there is more than enough business with the people I want to do business with for us, or for me at the time, to continue to do that. So why not?
Yeah.
Like, so it was kind of a no brainer, and the sign works, man. I get people call me on it. My truck's wrapped with that logo on it, and I get people to call me, or reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook or wherever, like, hey, I saw your truck driving around. Like, I think that's really cool that you guys are veteran owned and operated, and that's what you guys do. This is what we do. If there's anything we can do to help you, like,
Nice.
let us know. So yeah,
That's
it's been good.
awesome. Yeah, so I mean, if you're trying to niche down, honestly, go with the logo that really sticks out to your target audience rather than just a Windermere or whatever it
Yeah,
is. Or
whatever it is, right? Like, Synergy Properties, like, our logo is cool. Like,
Mhm.
Synergy is a cool thing. Like, and this office actually has Synergy, like, inside of
Yeah.
it, which is cool. But yeah, it's my biggest thing. Like, don't be afraid. Like, if you're getting into real estate and you want to do that, like, there was a gentleman that talked at this YPN event a couple weeks ago that Cassie went to, and all he does in Boise is mid-century modern homes.
Yep. I remember that guy.
Okay, you went to that,
Yep.
right? So, yeah, so like, all he does is that. Like, that's all he wants to do. That's all he does, and he's growing his business outside of his traditional market and looking to partner with other agents that only do mid-century homes.
Mhm.
Like, how cool would it be to be the only guy to talk to in the in the country about mid-century homes?
Yeah, honestly.
Or like the number one choice in Spokane, which is our mission, to be the number one choice for veterans, active duty service members who want to purchase, buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Like,
Yeah.
why not? Like, that's the mission. And there's more than enough business there if you focus. What you focus on expands. That's a Gary
Mhm.
Keller saying, right? But it's true. Like, if that's where you're focused at, like, that's where it's going to grow. And I don't really care to list just any house down the street,
Yeah, true.
or help any buyer.
And I think with the base right there too
Yeah, we're
makes
fortunate here, right? Like, and that's something that's different with this move, and kind of looking at that is, so, and what Casey's referring to is, I sprung on him this morning that we're putting a 2-year plan in place to relocate to Arizona, Lake Havasu City, Arizona. But the idea behind that is like, there's freedom in that too, right? Like, in retirement, like, it's a different thing. We're all seeking some sort of freedom in life,
Mhm.
whether it is. So it's like, hey, it's the military service. We have a large Air Force base here in Spokane. That makes sense to do military relocation. Lake Havasu City, Arizona is a vacation town.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't really make sense. But a lot of people snowbird there.
Mhm.
Is there freedom in being able to escape winter in the Pacific Northwest and go to Lake Havasu City, where the temperature yesterday was 63 degrees and
Yeah,
ours
everybody's
was
just
20?
enjoying the sun, and we're up here
Exactly.
freezing our balls
Yeah,
off.
they're playing golf, doing whatever they want to do, right? Playing on the lake, living their best life. So there's freedom in that.
Mhm.
So it's kind of, it goes along with it. So it's just kind of a different niche of that with doing relocation or short-term rental stuff.
Very
So,
cool.
yeah.
What was it that brought you from KW to Synergy?
I was looking to escape the big brokerage culture, where I felt, and I love KW, like I won't talk bad about KW, but I felt that once you reach a certain production level, at least in my market center, that it was more about what can you do for the market center. Like, hey, we need you to teach a class on this. We need you to do this. We need you to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Versus like, what can we do to help you grow your business? It was more take than give at that point.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm paying them thousands of dollars a year to be there and hang my license.
Yeah. Was it like 18 to 21,000 for a cap there? Or
well, they
like
lowered it. It was 9 and 3. So it was 12,000. Right. So 80-20 split, and it was 9 and 3. I don't know what it is now. Somebody said they changed it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know they're going back up. I think they lowered it specifically for COVID to try and keep agents on, and now they're
back up to the 18,000 or 20. Yeah, 18,000 cap and 21 a year is what it was before when I first started. I had a 70-30 split, which is fine. Like brokerages have to make money too. Like brokerages clients are the agents, and they need to have a win-win situation in that situation. So for me, I was just looking for a change away from that and somewhere where we could grow and people that had good ideas and to be around like-minded individuals. I interviewed a couple of brokerages. I went and talked to my buddy, Ken Sachs, who is the designated broker at a brokerage up in North Spokane. Talked to Ken.
PRS?
Yep, he's at PRS. I didn't know if we're supposed to be dropping all these brokerage names or not on your podcast. So Ken's at PRS. Tons of respect for Ken. He's an awesome guy. Took time out of his day to meet with me, went through, showed me some of their systems and tools and where they were at. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. And I really wanted to meet with Keith and then Tyler Carlson, who runs Carlson & Co. here, obviously. So I knew Tyler from back when he was at KW. So met with him and sat down with Keith, and we really hashed out what it is and like what this brokerage is about and being more investment minded, building wealth outside of just transactional real estate, which is appealing to me at my age, and the model and where it's at. And since I've been here with the quarterly masterminds, or we do a bi-weekly team leader meeting, like there's tons of value here. I don't need transaction support. I don't need a purchase and sale class every week, or like, hey, do this on a 22A, right? Like I don't need that. This is how you fill out a financing. I did them in my career, but people that are thinking big and going over thoughts and the collaboration inside, like the team, that office is named Synergy, and like truly is like I've helped some teams in here through Tidewater situations or reconsideration of value to get more money out of their listings with the VA stuff, because it's what I specialize in. It's what I do just happy to help. And I've picked people's brains on investing in real estate and like, hey, you guys are flipping properties. Like, I want to know more about this. I haven't done that. I'm kind of scared too, to be honest, right?
Yeah, no, I feel like flipping is one of those, like, you might lose your shorts and you might walk away with like a, bandit in the night. Like,
exactly.
It's crazy.
And it's like, I won't do anything that jeopardizes like my household, like where my kids are at. Right. So it's looking at that, but there's a lot of people that are doing it and doing it well here. And a lot of really bright people, honestly. So, and then the byproduct of that, like that was at the old office when we were all split up and everybody's different. I was doing a lot of working from home. And then when we moved to this location and having everybody here, like the culture like boomed that much more. I feel like there's a buzz in the office in the morning when you come in, like there's people calling their leads, getting stuff going, like brainstorming, sharing ideas. Like I've got agents that I share ideas with all the time, or that like I'll pick their brain on what they're doing with something to navigate this, like the market hasn't been great the last couple of months for agents, right? Like we're at the point, transactions are down, interest rates are up. So but the agent count's still really high. Yep. So there's a smaller piece of the pie for everybody. And it's like, how do you transition to that? Like right now with the shift book, like we're in the survive mode, right?
Yeah.
Like right now it's buckle down, focus on your systems and processes to push through. And then you're going to thrive when we come out the end of this. But the agent count's still really high in Spokane. Like I'm on a couple of committees at the association, and they're, our numbers are still over 2,000 agents for our population. Like I didn't think it would be there. But I kind of thought the beginning of the year when the market started to shift that we'd see a lot of people not renew. And so that trickle down effect is going to happen with agent count dropping probably the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So
I feel like with interest rates being higher, a lot of people probably got licensed because it was like, oh, might as well. Interest rates are super low. Cost $500 to get my license. I can knock that out in, the 90 hours or
Yeah.
120 hours or whatever it is. And like, I don't know, probably a couple weeks if you just breeze through it really quick, or what do you have, 6 months at most. So you can just blow through it, do what you got to do, and then start swimming with all the big fish and try not to get eaten.
Yeah. Well, I mean, COVID, right? Like COVID was real. It happened. Like we got shut down a little bit for real estate. We were essential, so we still worked. But people in the food service industry, right? Servers and bartenders that have amazing customer service skills could not work.
Mm-hmm.
The businesses, it's like, so what do? You write out unemployment? Do you find a career customer service oriented with a low bar to entry and to own your own business, like the cheapest business you can open as a real estate business
Basically,
in the
yeah.
state, right? Because, so like, why not? Like, I think we saw those people come in, and because the demand was so crazy, like everybody was doing business. And it was like, okay, this is how we win. This is how we win. Like, we're just doing this. We're running around 20 offers, 40 offers on houses, whatever it is. As a listing agent, you're like, wow, didn't see that going $100,000 above where we had it, but it did. So I think those people are going to start finding their way out of the industry. People that haven't had a chance to build a really good database or put systems and processes in place. And you hadn't had to have systems and processes the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So there's pain around that, because people that have systems and processes are seeing a huge slowdown in their business and where it's at. I don't know anybody that's doing more business right now. I haven't talked to anybody personally that's doing more business right now than they did at this point last year.
Yeah.
Like,
I think everybody's, probably around 60 to 80% of where they were last year, maybe even less.
With more effort.
Yeah, with more effort. Yeah, last year it was like, I like how Lisa Peters on our team described it. She's like, the last 2 years, stick your hands out and catch the candy. Now you're a potato farmer. That's how she described it. We're planting the seed in the ground, and we are taking care of it, and we are fertilizing it, and we're watching it every day, and we're de-weeding the garden. That's your job now. You're a potato farmer. You're no longer just running around catching candies that falls from the sky.
Nope, that's it. So, and there are more issues that go along with that, right? Like it used to be, there are more deals falling through. There's more back on market properties. There's more price reductions.
Mm-hmm.
The median home price dropped from the peak. When the numbers came out this month, we're down $85,000 for the median sales price. So it's, the first time home buyer houses are being listed, but it's affordability, because where the rates are at, people aren't approved at $500,000-$600,000 right now. The majority of people in Spokane, where last year, I don't think I really worked with somebody pre-approved less than $450,000.
Yeah.
And that's 80% military, right? So like military doesn't make a lot of money, guys.
Yeah.
So like
they're not handing out 106K figures.
No, it's just like, hey, this is where it's at. Like, because of interest rates and affordability, like that's where the push was at. And now that swing's coming down the other way. Not that home values have dropped 85,000, but the median sales price did.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're back from the break, and we're going back to the 11 questions from Tools of Titans. If you haven't read Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss already, make sure you go check that book out. Link to the Audible description is down below. So what is an unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love?
Oh, man. So, what is an absurd habit I have? Well, I have a bad habit, like I chew tobacco. So like that's a bad habit that I've had for years. Absurd habit. I'm obsessed with Laffy Taffy.
That's a good one.
Like candy and meat. Usually it's sour candy, but the last little bit, like those Laffy Taffy sticks that you can get, like the people at the grocery store when I check out and I'm like, oh, here's the regular groceries that we need. And like a box of Laffy Taffy. They're like, what are you doing?
Why do you have a box?
That's a lot. Or I pick like different flavors too. Cause I'm like, oh, I'll get the grape and the blue and do that.
Do you have a favorite color or flavor?
I like the mystery one, because it's a surprise. You don't know what you're going to get. It's like two flavors mixed together. So the mystery one, which I buy at like the U.S. Food Chef store when I get meat for the smoker.
Nice.
But yeah, Laffy Taffy. Like I will eat like 3 to 4 of those Laffy Taffy sticks, like in bed watching TV. It's the only time I really watch TV is in bed.
Yeah.
Before I go
Kind
to
of
sleep.
snacking.
Yeah, and like I'll eat those, but with that, like my dogs will come over, like our 2 blue nose pit bulls will come over to the side of the bed
Mm.
and like just start salivating, like, hey, we have to do that. So then I bite off like a little piece and they eat their Laffy Taffy with me.
Yeah.
So
Do you notice if it gives you a sugar rush before bed, or are you just like, it doesn't bother me?
I take melatonin and like stress
Yeah.
stuff to relax, try to shut down my brain. So no, like I don't have an issue going
Yeah,
to sleep
fair
because of
enough.
that. Yep.
It just breeze right past it, no
Exactly.
issues.
Yeah, but yeah, that's probably the weirdest thing.
Nice.
Candy.
Nice. In the past year, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
In the past year, I think openly sharing what I'm doing in my business, like putting it out into the world, has been huge. Because it's like if you say you're going to do something, it's kind of like talking to you about moving, right? Like we just decided Saturday that like, hey, this is something we're going to look into. We're going to move to warmer weather.
Yeah.
Like, why wait until retirement to live where we want to live? Because ultimately, I don't want to deal with winter when I'm 60 years old, right?
Yeah.
So, like putting that out into the world because then other people know about it, and it's like now you have to do it.
Yeah. It's like social accountability.
Absolutely, yeah. Just putting it out there in the world. So if it's like, hey, I'm going to take 15 listings in the next 12 weeks. Cool. Like I just put that out in the world. Like now I have to do the activity to do that. Otherwise, if I show up with 2 listings, you're gonna be like, you loser.
Yeah. Like Chad, what the hell?
All talk, right?
Yeah.
Well, like Keith Riddle, our designated broker, has it's like, let's be a do it person, not a talk about person. Like stuck to his door.
Yeah. Literally on his door, be a do it, not a talker person or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, which makes sense. Like, yeah, if you're going to put it out in the world, you got to do it. So, but it helps with personal accountability because I think, like we were talking about earlier with the David Goggins stuff, like people strive to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I get comfortable in my business, and then I don't try as hard as I should for new business or whatever the case may be. So, like putting it out in the goals out into the world and sharing those with other people or ideas or strategies, and then it's like, okay, yeah, now I'm going to capitalize on this. So that's been powerful.
Nice.
And with the group of people here, we've been here about a year now. The group of people in this office, like it's really supportive, and there are people that will poke holes in it. Like, so you're going to do that? Really? That's what you want to do? That's why do you want to do that? Did you think about this? Did you think about that? And they can poke holes in it. Maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
So, because I'm not a genius by any means. So,
yeah, I think it was actually someone from Tribe of Mentors talked about essentially a red room where someone will bring up an idea, and the goal of everyone else was to essentially put it down, talk about all the reasons it wouldn't work within their company. And if the person who came up with the idea was still like, no, this is what we need to do, I'm strong, I'm hell bent on it, then they would all push forward with that idea, but they would all try and destroy it first to see if it could withstand the criticism. Because if you're like, oh, I want to take 80 listings next year, and I'm like, that sounds terrible. You know, you're not going to have any work-life balance. Life's going to suck. Have no time for your family and all these other things. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I guess it would kind of suck to do that. And then, all right, well, me just saying those few sentences is enough to get you off of that. And then clearly you weren't passionate enough about that goal. But if it's like, no, I'm definitely going to do 80 listings because I have a higher purpose or a bigger why behind it, then it's like, all right, well, you're going to bring on new agents. You're going to bring on, whatever it is to get there. So, I definitely think
it's
that's
a lot
huge.
of open houses, a lot of door knocking around those listings. Like a lot of that, like that's
working
tough.
14 hours a week kind of thing, or 14 hours a day kind of
7
thing.
days a week. Yeah, for
7
sure.
days a week.
So, yeah. So, no,
Nice.
I think putting stuff out in the world has been the best.
Nice. What advice would you give to a smart, driven college student about to enter the real world?
I'm going to go with Gary Vee on it. Like, just try as much stuff as possible till you find something you like that you're good at. Like, I think the days of, I see it a lot in real estate with agents coming in, or even just the way the market goes, right? Like the average person moves every 7 years now. That wasn't the way it was, post World War II. They came home from the war, they bought a house in a neighborhood, the American dream, right? Like started a family, got married, had kids. They did that, and they stayed in that house until they died.
Yep, white picket fence.
Yep,
stay there,
and that stayed true for the most part, like through the 90s. It seems like to me, like my grandparents sold a couple of like moved properties, like financing wise, like, hey, we're going to build our dream house. And then my grandpa retired. He's like, I can't afford my property taxes. We're going to move over here. Right. So there was some of that, but I think a lot of those people, and I see those people in my neighborhood, I live in a neighborhood in Meade, Washington, just north of Spokane, that there's a lot of 70s houses in that neighborhood. Like my house was built in 79. And there are a lot of people in that neighborhood that like built that house new
Yeah.
like, hey, we built this house, whatever it was, $80,000, 60,000, whatever it was when they built it. And now they're $400,000 or $500,000 houses, but like they just stay there. And I see people do that in jobs and end up ultimately unhappy in life because they're like, oh, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're scared to move from one career to another. Am I stepping back? Am I doing this? Like, and I can tell you that leaving careers in corporate sales to go into real estate and ultimately start my own business was the best thing I could have done for my family. Like my income has more than doubled and I was making a good income before. My income has more than doubled. I'm passionate about what I do. I care about what I do. And I have more flexibility with my schedule. So like my daughter played competitive volleyball for years. She tore her ACL, so maybe she's getting back to it next year after recovery. But like I didn't miss Sundays in the gym. Like I didn't miss a game. Like I'd take my laptop and I'd work and do searches and send emails from the stands in between games. But like I saw every game.
Nice.
I saw every high school game. And that wouldn't be the case if I was working for somebody else at, a furniture store where I was at work until 8 o'clock at night because somebody had to buy a coffee table, right? Like so I'd try as many things as you want and figure it out. Like don't be afraid to try. Believe in yourself would be it.
I like that. I think it's been a huge shift from our grandparents and even like my generation, some of their parents, same thing, where it's like, go to work at a job, stay at that job forever because they're going to have a pension for you. And that pension is going to help you retire. We don't have that anymore. You have a 401k, you can take it to any job. And the only way to stay competitive is to switch from job to job to job, because if you stay at one job for more than 4 years, chances are salaries at other jobs are paying higher than what you're getting paid now. And you're going to have either more responsibility and room to grow at another company because your job just wants you to fill a role, not necessarily help you grow, which I think is another big thing that's changed with capitalism in America. Is it used to be help the family survive so that they can spend money. Now it's just, well, make money on the family any way you can. And it's just tough. If you're not moving around, especially if you're not passionate about a job, like there's no reason to stay in it now.
No, absolutely not. And even if that job's outside of what you spent your degree on, spoiler alert, like 90-something% of people don't have a job in the career field they got their degree in. Like, good for you. Like, hopefully you didn't accumulate a bunch of debt doing that, but there are other avenues for sure. So that would be the biggest piece of advice I could give is like, don't stay somewhere you're not happy.
Nice. I love it. I love it. What are bad recommendations that you hear in your area of expertise?
Bad recommendations in real estate. Pick up the phone and just call every day. Like just pound the phones or just go door knock and you'll grow your business, right? Like I saw that a lot at my first brokerage. There were a couple agents there that do 20 plus million a year by themselves, right? They built phenomenal businesses. They'd been at that point 30 years, so they're going on 40 years in the business. They don't have to prospect. Like they just went out and knocked doors. They survived long enough that their name's out there and the referral business they take care of their clients. They do a good job, right? So the referral business comes, but that's not like right now business. So people that are stuck in old outdated tactics, like does door knocking work? Yes, door knocking absolutely works. Should that be the only thing you do in your business? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like if I come knock on your door, you're going to be like, why the hell are you here, Chad? I'm like, oh, I'm just your friendly realtor, right? Same thing with social media. Like a lot of people take social media as an easy path out, right? Like, oh, I'm going to become an influencer. Well, what makes you so cool that people want to follow you?
Yeah.
Right? Whatever that is. That's something that Cassie and I talk about quite a bit. She's like, oh, I'm doing TikTok. And like, we have a great following on TikTok and we've closed business from TikTok. Is TikTok enough leads for us to survive? No, absolutely not.
Yeah, it's like it's nice to get a few sprinkled in throughout the year.
It's a tool. The cost is great. It's pretty much free. Like a couple of Ring cameras. Like I think we bought two. I think we're on our third Ring camera now. We have two functioning, one at the office, one at home, depending on when we feel like filming. And then we broke one, so we had that. And then we did a skit like when it was raining like crazy at the beginning of summer last year. I did a It skit. So I went to North 40 by my house and I spent like $45 on a rain jacket so I could look like Georgie from It
Yeah.
and talked into the sewer and did that. So yeah, like, I mean, I'm a couple $100 invested in TikTok over a year
Yeah.
and we've closed multiple deals. Like it's money ahead. But just thinking like posting on Facebook every day and trying to meet people where they're at, I think
Mhm.
it's not something I hear, but I see people do, I guess, is that we think that our job is interesting to people and it's not.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as you can come to the realization that nobody cares about your content, or the vast majority of people don't care about your content that you're putting out real estate related, besides other real estate agents, because they're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna
like
steal
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I'm going to steal that. I'm going to do that myself, right? If we realize people only want to talk to us when they are in the need of buying, selling, or investing in real estate and go about it in that method, I think it's a lot better, because getting on every day and like today's market update is this and
Mhm.
this many homes went pending yesterday. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about the median home price unless they're getting ready to buy, sell, or invest, right?
Yep.
Like nobody cares. Like, what's the capitalization rate? Can I buy that at a deal? Like,
Mhm.
okay, can I make money on it if I rent it out? Can I flip that? Whatever it is. So I think that's the biggest thing, is people are constantly putting out content for themselves and it's ego
Mhm.
driven instead of customer driven.
Yeah.
Like, share cool stuff in your area, right? Like, what's cool about this neighborhood? What restaurant's cool in this neighborhood? What activities are nearby? Like, what are people that do live in this neighborhood? What do they do for fun,
Mhm.
right? Like, if you do that, like that'll get more of a following. Like, if be an ambassador for your city, right? Like, hey, Spokane is Hooptown, USA, right? Like, we have the largest 3-on-3 basketball tournament in Spokane every summer. We have Bloomsday every May or April.
Mhm.
It's usually May. I think it was in April last
Yeah.
year.
It's like the
But
first Sunday or last Sunday in April, first Sunday in May, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, right there, like Bloomsday, huge 7 mile race, whatever. I don't know how many Ks it is, 10K,
12K. Yeah.
12K or whatever it is. So like, I've never done it. I've lived in Spokane a lot of my life. Like, I was born here and I've never competed in Hoop Fest and I've never run Bloomsday. Like, but those are events that people like to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, what cool local restaurants, what shopping is nearby, like boutique stores, stuff like that. I think that's more valuable to people outside the market thinking about moving to Spokane, like what to expect when you get there,
Mhm. Or even
right?
people here that are just kind of like, oh, that's cool. That's my city. Like, I love watching
Yeah,
stuff like
I
that.
didn't know that was there. Like,
Yeah.
I can tell you some pretty good places to get breakfast in Spokane. I'm a breakfast connoisseur. Like, like, hey, this is my favorite place to get breakfast. This is what I order, right?
Should do a weekly, like, Chad's breakfast of the week or whatever.
Yeah, like
That'd be cool.
yeah, it wouldn't help with my weight loss, but I'd be crushing chicken fried steaks and whatnot. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm trying to lose 20 pounds. That'll help me gain 20 pounds,
exactly,
Casey. Come on.
exactly. But no, I mean, that's something to do. But yeah, I think being more of an ambassador than more like, this month our median sales price was this or that. Like,
Mhm.
if you can get that into we've talked about that sales price and what it's
Mhm.
done. If you can get that into conversation, that's great. But that shouldn't be the only content you put out
Yeah.
ultimately. So.
I love it. I love it. In the last 5 years, what have you become better at saying no to, and what realizations or approaches helped?
I've gotten more selfish in the last 5 years with my time and who I spend it with. And whether that's personal relationships that don't add any value to me, that like are just like feel obligated, or even family relationships, honestly.
Mhm.
Like, if it's not fulfilling to me or my personal growth or my positivity in my life, I've cut it out. And that's not saying like cut family out. But I'm gonna make it a point not to talk to them as often as I was in the past. And do
Mhm.
and same thing with people in my life. Like, if you're not serving a purpose in my life, like I cut people out. And that has freed up more time to focus on building relationships with people I want to be in relationship with, more intentional time with my family, and getting that done and spending quality time with the kids. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest, because before I like feel obligated, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, we're gonna do this Christmas thing with family, and I was like, oh, great. I don't
Oh
want to.
boy, I
Yeah, like
can't
we all have to
wait.
do this, right? Like, I don't have to do that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I want to see my family,
Mhm.
but I don't want to be obligated to do that. So like, we selfishly started doing it, like vacationing during the holidays. It's
Mhm.
like, hey, like, so I'm all about giving my kids experiences. Like, we don't do Christmas gifts as a family,
Yeah.
not for religious reasons or anything like that. We just rather give them an experience.
Yeah,
So
that's
like,
cool.
we go to Hawaii for 7 days over Christmas break, or we go on a cruise and do something. And their gift is like, one, the vacation, and two, like pretty much going to spend a ton of money on this vacation.
Yeah.
Like, you want to eat sushi in Hawaii? Cool. Like, we're getting poke bowls every day. Cool. Like, that's what we're doing. Like, whatever you want to do for the kids, and giving them that experience. Cause like, I never really went on family vacations as a kid. Like, we'd go to the lake and go camping and stuff, but like my mom and stepdad would take off and like go to the Washington coast together and do that. I've still never been to the Washington coast, or they do the Oregon coast was like their thing. So like, just being more intentional about time with family and doing that with like my wife and kids, we then cut out like that rush of the holiday stuff. So it's like, we can host Thanksgiving, do stuff Thanksgiving, and then as soon as Christmas break rolls, we're like, see you later.
Bye, guys. We'll be back in January.
We'll be back next year. Yep, exactly. Yep, we're
That's
gone.
awesome.
So
I've seen a lot of, or at least I've heard a lot of my generation have that same mindset with weddings and stuff too, because weddings in America are like insanely expensive.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are like, listen, don't buy the wedding venue, go on a trip to Europe and get married there, because A, only like 4 people are going to come and it's your close friends and family. You don't have to deal with all the hustle and bustle of everyone else. B, the wedding is going to be cheaper and the honeymoon's tied in because you're already on vacation.
Yeah.
So you can go there, do the wedding, do the ceremony, do the vacation, and the honeymoon, like all in one. And it's still going to be cheaper than just the wedding would be here. And you get to travel the world, maybe stay there for a week or two, like have that experience rather than just buy an expensive dinner for 50 of your friends, family, and a bunch of random kids that showed up.
Yeah, like, I mean, Cassie and I both came from like lower middle class families. Like, we didn't come from wealth, right? So like, that's the thing. Like, when we got married, like, we were broke. Like, I had my daughter. I was paying child support at the time because I didn't have custody at that point. You know, Kayla was 3 at the time when Cassie and I got married. So like, I didn't get custody until she was 5. And doing that, like, we were broke, and so we were just going to go to Vegas and elope, right? Like, hey, let's go to Vegas. We'll elope. Like, no big deal. And my mother-in-law's like, you're not getting married in Vegas. So we had like the most hood wedding ever. Like, this venue up, or I don't even remember where we got married at now. It was some place that's no longer, like, the building got torn down since then. It was up on like 8th, like Lower South Hill, and you could do the wedding there. And then like, we went out to do photos, and then like, they put all the tables out, and then like, we did like a potluck type thing. But that wasn't for us. Like, we didn't even eat at our own wedding because her grandmother was in charge of like the food and like getting people through the line. And like, when we were out doing photos, they just like sent everybody through the line. So there was like no food left when Cassie and I got back.
Like, what?
So like, we stayed the night at the Davenport Tower Hotel and ended up like eating dinner there finally at like 11 o'clock at night after our wedding reception. But yeah, I mean, you don't, why spend money on stuff that doesn't matter or bring value to you? And what I'll tell you is, if you start cutting people out or things out of your life that don't add value, it sounds really bad to say cut people out, but it's like I said, I'm more selfish is what I've been better at. You'll find that you develop better relationships with the people that you are in relationship with, because you have more time for intentional, meaningful conversation with them.
Yeah, it's like quality over quantity.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't personally think there's anything wrong. Somebody might be like, oh my God, like, I would never not do that with my family.
How could you not have 100 people over every Thanksgiving? It's like, man, that sounds like work. That doesn't sound like a fun time. That sounds like a job.
No. And I think, you know, for my generation, you know, being 40 years old now, like, it was kind of the expectation when we were newly married and little kids, right? Like, you go to mom's house for Christmas, right? Like, this is what we do. You came up here and your kids. So now I got to go to my mom's house, and we got to go to Cassie's mom's house. And my parents got divorced when I was 3. So we got to go to my dad's house and see him, right? So now I've got an infant to toddler in the car driving to all these locations to appease everybody else.
Yep.
Like, we're the ones with kids. Like, did we have a house that we could entertain in at that time in our life? No. But like, didn't take time to build intentional relationships, like with even just family like us. It was like, we're doing this because it's expected. And as soon as we cut that off and we're like, hey, we're not doing this anymore, life got so good. Like, I actually enjoy the holidays. Yeah. Like, I didn't enjoy the holidays for years. I'm like, oh, Christmas. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm kind of starting to get to that now where it's like, oh, God, here we go. It's Thanksgiving. Now we got 3 different dinners we got to go to. And then it's Christmas. And then you got to buy like 14 different gifts for 14 people. And you can't just buy them a gift card because I guess that's frowned upon. You got to go actually spend some effort. Like, oh, I can't just buy you guys dinner. Like, that seems so easy and nice. And you guys get a beautiful dinner together. Like, no, you have to put thought and effort into the gift. It's like,
gift exchanges changed our family dynamic. Like,
Mhm.
it's awesome. You don't have to be intentional. Like, there's a limit. You buy this and do like a white elephant gift exchange. You buy one present. Everybody takes part in it. They do that. You take the one that you want out of the group, right? Hopefully you get the one you want out of the
Yeah.
group, right? And it works, but it saves on cost because, yeah, like I love my brother-in-laws, but and my brother and my sister-in-law, my sister and other brother-in-law, but like I'm not going to buy them all gifts and all their kids
Mhm.
gifts. Like that's a huge financial burden,
Yeah, it's
right?
like, or you break it down to even if it's $20 a gift, if you have 20 family members, I mean, that adds up pretty quick. It's like, okay, you got 3 brothers, you got 2 parents on each side, maybe there's a couple grandkids
Yeah.
involved, so now you gotta buy the baby something, even though
Yep.
they're not gonna even wear it in 3 years. If you buy them, like, shoes or something, they're
Oh
gonna
yeah.
outgrow it.
Yep.
So, yeah, it is I like that, just focus on yourself and do what you can to
Yeah.
make you and your family cohesive rather than worrying about everybody else and their needs and their wants all the time.
Yep.
Love it. All right. So, last question. When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, what do you do? What questions do you ask yourself?
That's good, man, because I've been there lately. Just like things aren't going right, right? Like the market's different, it's changed.
Hmm.
Trying to get things going there. So I focus as try to determine why, right? Like what's going on? Is it business related? Is it personal related? Is it physical? Right? Like exercise is great to get endorphins going. I'm terrible about going and exercising on a frequent basis when
Hmm.
wintertime. Like I don't love the gym. In springtime, summertime, like I'll get out, ride my mountain bike, I'll go ride my jet ski, go surf behind the boat, like whatever, and that helps clear my mind, like being active out there. But really, just deep diving and knowing myself now and trying to determine what's wrong. And I was kind of in a funk and figured out, and that's kind of what prompted this move and 2-year plan was like I'm not happy in the wintertime. I
Hmm.
don't ski anymore. I don't snowboard anymore. Like I went snowboarding one time this year and it was fun, but I don't want to be out in the cold. Like
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't care to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm not recreating in the wintertime, like doing what I normally do, like I used to ride snowmobiles and I go snowboarding and do all that stuff. And I don't do that in the wintertime anymore. So now I work and I look at the gray sky and I'm like, well, this is fun.
This is ass.
Go work in my garage. So really I spend time by myself, first of all, in silence or like working with my hands. Like that's my big release is like I've been restoring old vintage jet skis for the last couple of years. So I'll go in
Mhm.
my garage and just work by myself. No music on, no nothing. Like just focus on what I'm doing, working with my hands clears my mind. Because our job's all mental, right? Like it's all
Mhm.
mental and emotional. And I'm not a real emotional person. So
Yeah.
that can be difficult when there are high emotions because I'm like, why are you upset?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
like I do this 40 times a year and this is like their one transaction.
Yeah, right. And
Mhm.
just even relationship wise, like Cassie is a more emotional person than I am,
Mhm.
right? So like with the transaction, like she gets all pissed off about something. I'm like, why are you mad about that? Like it's
Mhm.
just business.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It
Like move
happens.
on. Like
Yep.
whatever it is. Like it's not the first time. It's gonna happen again. I promise.
Yeah.
Like we just deal with it. So and you can be upset in the moment and do that, but trying to dig down and knowing myself and like, hey, what's causing this and where is it coming from? What can I do to fix it? And is that exercise? Is that meditation? Like we have the Peloton bike. So that's nice to get on and pedal and kind of burn off some energy. But with their app, they have like the guided meditation. I can't just sit and meditate like that'll never happen.
Mhm.
I don't even sit in a meditative like position when I meditate. But going through a guided meditation, like laying flat on my back in our gym in our basement on the yoga mat, perfect. Like I
Mhm.
can lay there with the lights dimmed and clear my mind and then come to a solution like, hey, this is where it's at, or maybe that changes my mood enough that I'm okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, questioning business stuff, like just the change, it's like my brain runs rampant, like, hey, how do I fix this? Like what's going on? Like our issues, we need more leads right now, more buyers and sellers wanting to participate in the market today.
Mhm.
Like not 6 months from now, like we need that business today. Like how do I find those people? I'm
Mhm.
like, where are those people at? And then it's just like a rabbit hole and goes, it works. Like seems to work for me.
Yeah, it gives you time to really focus down. And honestly, I feel like because I do this thing where I'll try and focus and meditate on stuff, and it's so easy to just get distracted with social media and stuff nowadays that it's like that monkey mind is just constantly
Oh yeah.
craving little hits of dopamine.
Yep.
So it's like even trying to listen to an audiobook versus scrolling on TikTok is tough sometimes. Like the audiobook's way better, but TikTok is more immediate gratification because I can just like, oh, bored, next, bored, next, bored, next. And it's like you never get that focused and mind all in one area, or even let your mind wander for a second and get all those thoughts out of the way. Because a lot of people, especially in my generation, I feel like our attention span is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller
Well,
to where it's like goldfish are beating us for attention span now. They have 7 seconds. We're down to like 5.5, 6 seconds.
yeah, and you're talking about, the hits of dopamine too, like it's instant gratification, right? Like you do a post on TikTok, like, oh, how many people liked it? How many
Yeah.
views do I have? Like,
Did someone like it yet?
where's it at? Like,
I got a like. Oh, this one didn't get as many as my last
that
video.
one's
Why
only
didn't
got
it get
200
better? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can overanalyze it. And it's kind of like watching the news, right? Like
Mhm.
I grew up in a house where my mom and stepdad watched the news like every night at 5 and 6,
Yeah.
right? I intentionally do not watch the news. Like occasionally I'm like, oh, let's see what's going on. And like we don't even have cable, like we just streaming services. But like occasionally I'll check in like YouTube TV, like live TV, like, oh yeah, let's see what's going on. But then I do that and then I'm like, I find that I'm depressed watching the news because none of it's good.
It's all negative.
Yeah,
All
none of it's
negative.
good. It's all a narrative that somebody's telling. So it's like, hey, I can cut that out of my life. Like, where am I seeking positive stuff? Radio in the morning. Like, I have a 20 in the morning and evening. I have a 25 to 30-minute commute, depending on traffic, to and from the office. If I leave the office and go home and I'm not out on appointments after that. So, like, that is Audible book. Like, I just switch that. Like, hey, I'm putting a book in the truck. Like, this is what we're doing. I'm listening to a book while I drive.
Nice.
Like, that's it. I'll listen to music if my kids are with me because they don't want to listen to my books.
Yeah.
But like,
That's the same with my girlfriend. It's like, babe, I'm putting on Jordan Peterson. She's like, oh, again.
yeah, but no, that book's and like internalizing that, and it makes the drive go. Like sometimes I leave my house and like next thing I know, I'm at the office. I'm like, oh shit, like I was way deep in thought.
Yeah.
Like while I was driving, so that helps.
Nice. What book are you listening to currently?
So I just finished the 12-week year, and I've been implementing that plan. So like going through the worksheets and doing that stuff. So I have to pick one today.
Nice.
So yeah, I just finished that one, and then this morning I was implementing my worksheet for my 12-week year and what that looks like. So
very cool. All right. Well, I think that's time. We got through all the questions. Chad, I appreciate you coming on.
Man,
That was great.
Casey. Glad to be here.
I will see you guys all on the next one.